another Friday. Time to talk NBA basketball. Man, I hate when the Knicks aren't the lead, but they're not today. By the way, we are presented by Northeast Roofing Professionals. NERPCNY.com. So go see our friends at Northeast Roofing. And we are, that's all we're brought to you by. I thought we had multiple sponsors. We only one sponsor today, Northeast Roofing Professionals. You get the full Monty today, Northeast. All right, you see Boy Green next to me. As I said, time to talk all things NBA. Let's bring him in, our NBA insider from Heavy.com, to talk about the Jayson Tatum story. Boy Green, I'll even give you the first question if you want. Jayson Tatum is indeed coming back. Sean Deveney, what about it? Wow.
Yeah, that is certainly something that, for all the discussion that we've had about it and everything that's been said over the last few months about him and him potentially coming back, it's kind of nice that it's actually here and that we'll get to see some of all the things that have been said, what comes true and what winds up happening. Obviously, he's not going to come back and be, a guy who can shoot 20, 24, 25 times a game. But he's going to find his footing. He's going to get himself healthy. And as he's doing that, he's going to work himself into a team that's been very, very good. And he's got time to do it. I mean, there's still 6 weeks left in the season. You got to kind of, I think, look at that first round series as part of the whole practice thing for Jayson Tatum as well. They'll probably have a pretty easy opponent. So he's basically got 2 months to get himself up and running, and that's probably going to be enough time.
So, Sean, what's the plan with Jayson Tatum? Again, you mentioned it's unique how long of a stretch they have with regular season, that first round opponent. How do the Celtics plan on doing this in terms of slowly integrating him back, and how? Because, again, they've been successful without Jayson Tatum, but obviously he's a straw that stirs the drink.
Yeah, and they're going to have to figure out how to get him, into basketball shape and then into Jayson Tatum shape. And there's two different tiers there. So they're worried about basketball shape now. They'll want to start him as quickly as possible. I don't know if he's going to start tonight, but they'll want to get him into the starting five as quick as possible, even if he's still on that minutes restriction, which would probably be, around 20 minutes in the early going here. But you want to get him surrounded by the players because they've got a bunch of, he hasn't really played with Neemias Queta, the starting center. He certainly hasn't played with Vucevic, the backup. So, there's new players there. Even some of the guys who have been around, like Jordan Walsh, he hasn't really played with them that much. Baylor Shireman, these guys that have come on and really filled the gap for him over these last 4 months. He needs to learn to play with these guys. And so I think that's going to be sort of step one there. He's got to be able to get himself back physically, back to where he trusts the injury. That's always a big thing when you're coming back from something like this. But then, to get himself familiar with his team again.
Now, that game is at the TD Garden tonight. Is that correct, Sean?
That's right.
Okay, because I don't follow the Celtics and their schedule. I try to avoid that as much as humanly possible as a Knicks fan. I have no doubt in my mind that he will be in the starting lineup tonight. Now, it may be just a figurehead, but they're going to put him in the starting lineup just so they can say, and forward, number 0, Jayson Tatum. All right? You know it. You know they're doing that tonight, Sean. So let's not even...
Yeah, I can see that. I can see it both ways. So, you do want to sort of ease them in. And but like I say, they're going to get him into the starting five. If it's not tonight, it's going to be as quick as possible. But even if it's just in the small... in those small stints. And, the other funny thing is that this was supposed to be, a big homecoming for Cooper Flagg, who's from Maine and has a lot of fans and a lot of people in this area. And poor Cooper Flagg he's on page 4 now. You got to really hunt in the sports section for him on this day here in Boston.
And I'm just going to go on the record, BG, before you fire off the next thing here. I just want to go on the record in saying Listen, my friend. All right. I'm surprised that he's back. Okay. I'm surprised. I'm surprised that the Celtics would risk it, but I don't think they would if he hasn't really had a speedy recovery and is really on track. I think that would be crazy suicide to do that. So I think it's real that he's here, that he's going to play in the playoffs, and that, with all this time to ramp up, that he might very well be the Jayson Tatum of old. But as a Knicks fan, I want to say this. If we're going to go to the NBA Finals for the first time in a gazillion years, okay, I want to do it beating the real guys, okay? Because you already have your little druthers last year about how we bounced you out, but Tatum got hurt in the middle of the series.
We were hurt.
There'll be no excuses for this year when we destroy you, okay? So I'm just going on the record saying that we want you on that wall. We need you on that wall. Okay, there you go. All right, go ahead. Ask your next question.
Way to build it up. But actually, the breadth of the beginning of what you said is my question to Sean. Sean, this is great. He's coming back, which has been talked about forever, but he's coming back, which is amazing. The Celtics, I have to imagine, would not even chance. And again, I get it's going to be slow and incremental. He's not playing 40 minutes tonight. But, it's got to be they wouldn't even attempt to step him on the court unless they felt 1,000,000% that he was good. Because why risk it? Why jeopardize? We're already at the end of this season. If he was to, God forbid, do anything, he'd be out for whatever his rest of this, and then maybe next year again. So, man, this is a risky game, but obviously they wouldn't be doing this unless they felt absolutely unequivocally amazing, both from Tatum's perspective of telling them he feels good and what they hear from the doctors. Right, Sean?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And I was actually talking to somebody with the Celtics about this, and I kind of said, well, there's going to be the perception that you guys are pushing him back too fast. And he said an interesting thing, and I think this is when you think about it, it's true. He said it's the complete opposite. We don't want him to play. If you're the organization, you get a year off where, everything that they've done, they can't do anything wrong right now, right? I mean, they're 41-21. Everybody looks like a genius. Joe Mazzulla is the coach of the year. Jaylen Brown's the MVP. Brad Stevens is a genius for finding, Hugo Gonzalez and Jordan Walsh and all these guys who are contributing. There's nothing to lose for the Celtics at this point. So, organizationally, they'd be happy to kind of get this bridge year and just have a year where there's no pressure, and it turns out that everything's going great. So there's really not that much incentive for the Celtics to have him come back at this point. So this is coming from Tatum. This is coming from Tatum and his people, his trainers, and certainly the doctor. The doctor who's been helping him through this has kind of said that this idea that you need a year to come back from an Achilles injury is kind of false. It's not where we are anymore with medicine. Just like, and we see that with ACLs now all the time. I mean, ACL used to be a death sentence for athletes, and it's not anymore. And I think that there's some feeling that that's what's going on with the Achilles. So, this isn't really something where the Celtics are taking the risk of pushing him back. They'd be perfectly happy to have him sit out this year. But this is what Tatum wants.
I'm being told that Manchild wants to talk about other things beyond Jayson Tatum, which is incredibly disappointing because I thought that was going to be the next 40 minutes of this. But so I guess I'll squeeze it into one more here. With Tatum coming back and having all this time, what are realistic expectations? Because, to be fair, I don't want to jump the gun, but I'm ready to win the NBA championship and hang another banner. So, Sean, I just want to make sure I'm perfectly within my right to expect that fully from the Celtics this year.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, you've got to realize, and I think that's what you're acknowledging, is that it does lower the floor. Like, this could screw up the whole chemistry thing and everything that they've done. This could be a disaster. There's no question that adding a player like Tatum, as good as he is going to mess up everything that the Celtics have built in these last few months, and they're going to have to figure out how to manage that. But it raises the ceiling as well. I mean, this is now you can imagine this as a potential championship team, or at least one that can realistically challenge the Oklahoma City Thunder in NBA Finals when they've got Jayson Tatum healthy with all the pieces that they've developed over the course of this year. So it raises the ceiling, but it does lower the floor too. I think you've got to kind of look at it that way. But yeah, I don't think, they were a very nice story. You had a chance to maybe get to the Eastern Conference Finals without Jayson Tatum. With Jayson Tatum, you've got to at least give them a chance to get back to the finals and perhaps even win it.
Yeah, well, let's spend a little time talking about teams that could win the NBA championship this year, and it starts with my New York Knicks. It's been quite an interesting past week or so, Sean, with the Knicks being tested and getting a look at some of these teams in the Western Conference that you don't get a lot. You don't get to see a lot. And I do think there is something to be gleaned here, not even necessarily through the results, but just what you look like against a given team. Let's start first with the Knicks taking on Wemby and the Spurs. The Knicks actually ended up beating the Spurs and beating them handily. What do you glean from that? And what did you think of the Knicks snapping that 10-game winning streak at Madison Square Garden and putting the Spurs where they belong?
Yeah, I really do think that was probably the best win of the year for the Knicks. Given how much sort of pomp and circumstance it was coming in, and the fact that the Spurs had been on that run. And then the way they handled it, they really handled defending Wemby well. I thought they got good minutes throughout. Obviously Bridges was really, really good in that game, and he's kind of coming back into form a little bit. I thought Cat, even though he didn't score that much, he played well enough, and to be able to go up against a team like that and get that win. I thought that was really, to me, that's the signature win of the Knicks, certainly in the last few months here, certainly since the NBA Cup.
And just a couple of days ago, we got to see OKC, the team that everyone thinks is going to win the NBA championship, including myself, in all honesty. They are stacked. They are loaded. And, of course, they have SGA, who at times is an unstoppable force. I mean, there are elements of his game that harken me back to the days of Michael Jordan. The one thing I would say, though, and Knick fans and, frankly, Knicks staff, including Jalen Brunson and their head coach, Mike Brown, are unhappy about are the calls. And I agree. I watched that game pillar to post. And I was like, come on, man. Like, are we back into Michael Jordan days here where, like, you touch Michael and you get a call and you can pound Patrick Ewing and we don't see anything? I mean, Jalen Brunson was getting hit all over the place and not getting calls. And SGA got some really favorable calls in that game. Give me your thoughts about how the Knicks match up with OKC. It was a tight game. OKC wins by 3 points. And what do you make of the Knicks' complaints about the calls? Is it legit or not?
Yeah, I thought that was an encouraging game from the Knicks, even though they lost, just because they did have a couple of shots at tying the game at the end there. And, to be able to play at the Thunder's pace and the way the Thunder want to play, slow and physical and really playoff type basketball where both teams barely got over the 100-point mark. That's, and you still have a chance to win. And you're shooting 40% and Brunson's not having a great game, all that stuff, and to still be able to win that game. That's encouraging for me as a Knicks fan. The Thunder played really well, and that played very, very well defensively. And the call stuff, it's tough because it's going to be under the microscope. And the league, this isn't new. If we see a Knicks Thunder final, then we're not going to see anything new in terms of, oh my gosh, they're fouling too much, or they're not getting, Lou Dort is not getting called for the million fouls that he commits, and SGA is getting all the calls. We saw that all through last year, and we've seen it so far this year. It's not new. I think it is a problem for the NBA that there is that perception out there. I think the big thing that the NBA, because the NBA does have a rule on its books, and if you watch SGA enough, he does the leg kick thing all the time. The old Reggie Miller leg kick thing.
Yep.
And the NBA really made that a point of emphasis to get rid of that. He still does it. He's still getting those calls, and so there's at least some low hanging fruit there that I think the league could deal with and be better about handling that they're just not. It's going to be a story throughout the whole playoffs. And certainly if you get a Knicks finals, a Knicks Thunder finals, it's going to be an even bigger story.
All right, let's talk about the player that always connects me in Lurch. Kristaps Porzingis, KP, baby, the Celtics legend. But in all seriousness, all jokes aside, he dealt with the mysterious illness with the Celtics during their, of course, championship run, and now he's on the Warriors, and now it seems like it's coming up again. Sean, what is going on here with Kristaps Porzingis? It seems very concerning.
Yeah, it is. It's a disaster, really, for the Warriors. So he had a calf injury when they traded for him, and they said, "All right, we're gonna let him rest until after the All-Star break, then he'll come back." He comes back against the Celtics. He plays 17 minutes. Looks okay. He had 12 points or something like that in 17 minutes. You say, okay, well, all right, and of course, part of the whole thing is the Jonathan Kuminga drama, the guy that they've been trying to trade for 3 years now, and has really divided that whole fan base. So there's a whole drama with him involved. They trade Kuminga for Porzingis. He plays the one game, and then the illness comes back, and it's been a disaster ever since. He hasn't played since that first game back from the so I think it's been 11 games since they traded for him. He's played one. And now it's the illness thing, and that's really frustrating because you just don't know. You just don't. And the Celtics dealt with this all last year. They came up with a name for it, POTS. It's this condition that you get. It's some kind of neurological condition that causes you to get dizzy and faint and all that sort of stuff. And so the Celtics, and then Steve Kerr goes on the radio in San Francisco and says, "No, that's not what he has. I was told he doesn't have that. It's not that." And then Steve Kerr has to apologize for saying that because he's not a doctor. I think my guess is that Porzingis' people didn't like how that all sounded and how that all looked, like he was putting it on Porzingis as sort of faking an illness or something. So, look, this has been, 1 month since he was traded, and this is all the stuff that's happened. He's played one game. So he is on the road trip with them. They're hoping that apparently he worked out yesterday, and they're hoping they can get him back. But everything that's come with Porzingis basically since his time with the Knicks has just multiplied and just gotten worse and worse as he's gone on. And now he's with another team, and it's happening all over again.
Sean, another interesting story in the NBA, the return of Trae Young. So we know the Wizards did some things at the trade deadline, which surprised a lot of people, trying to put a credible roster together. And Young made his way back onto the court and made quite a splash.
Yeah, and look, I mean, of course, he made quite a splash, and he always is. That's part of who Trae is. But I think what's interesting is that this is a team that is trying to win. And, when they made the trade for Trae Young and for Anthony Davis, a lot of people had the view that, this was going to be something where, they can resuscitate their careers a little bit. Then the Wizards can go ahead and trade them, and get some more assets for them. And it certainly made some sense. But, from what I've been told is they're really trying to go forward with these guys, and they really do want to see what they have. They want to. They're sick of losing. A lot of that comes from ownership. I think that's the driving force. I think if the GM was making all the decisions here, they'd probably take their time a little bit more. But they want to try to win, and they feel like maybe these guys can do it. They do have some good young pieces that probably need a little more time, but they're going forward, and they're trying to win. And in an era where we're all complaining about tanking all the time, I guess you can kind of say, well, good on the Wizards for at least trying. At least trying at a time when so many other teams aren't.
Talking with our NBA insider, Sean Deveney, Heavy.com. It's the Man-Child Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital. Don't forget to pop that subscribe button. See the link right below us right there. Also, membership available. The 12th Man-Child is our VIP membership, and you can click the join button if you are already a subscriber and check out our membership levels. We are brought to you today by Northeast Roofing Professionals. Let's just take 30 seconds to learn a little bit more about our friends from Northeast. We'll be right back.
Finding the right local roofing company can be tricky. You don't want to hire the wrong roofers, or you could end up spending a fortune on repairs. The pros at Northeast Roofing Professionals can ensure your home is protected by a strong and sturdy roof. Locally owned and operated, over 30 years experience, free estimates, and competitively priced. Don't settle for an inexperienced roofing contractor. Turn to Northeast Roofing Professionals. Discounts for military and first responders. Reach out and let them put a sturdy roof over your head. NERPCNY.com. NERPCNY.com.
All right, we are back. Man-Child Show with Boy Green Digital, talking NBA with Sean Deveney. Sean, I hate to throw more rose petals at his feet, but the fact of the matter is the guy continues to break records. LeBron James another record broken. I thought he had them all. Most field goals made in the history of the NBA. So he's already the all-time leading scorer. We know that. Now he even has more field goals made than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So this is just all icing on the cake for LeBron. Give me your thoughts about this particular record that he's now set.
Well, I want to put it in the context of sort of how you frame the question, and I'm calling you out here, Lurch, because I get this all the time. It's like, well, geez, LeBron, and I'm going to tell you that I was covering the league and I was going to the finals and going to the All-Star games and all that stuff in 2003 when this guy came into the league. And, you had Allen Iverson was probably the biggest story, and he was such a divisive character. The year after that, 2004, is when you had the rape charge for Kobe Bryant. And, you really had a league that was splintering. I went to finals games in 2003. I think it was 2003 where the final score was 84-79. I remember Greg Popovich saying we just set basketball back 15 years right there. And he was right. It was an ugly product and the players were really turning people off. And that's the league that LeBron James walked into. And so here we are 23 years later, he's still playing. And he's never got arrested. He's never said the wrong thing. The decision thing, you could argue that's fine. And I wouldn't debate you on that. It was
just a
bad
PR mistake. Yeah,
it's a PR mistake. It's a bad look. He knows it. But everywhere this guy's gone, he's carried himself well. He's uplifted teammates. He's uplifted. The salary cap back when he came in was at about $12 million, and now it's at $200 million. So you can see the growth in the league, and a lot of that you've got to give it to him. So I just think it's people are tired of LeBron, and I get it, but you got to remember where the league was when he came in and where it is now. And you've got to look, Steph Curry deserves credit. There's other things, but certainly LeBron has been sort of the beating heartbeat of that for the last 23 years.
Which, by the way, good call out, Sean, because you would think for a guy like Sean, I don't know if you even know this.
Oh, don't tell him, please.
He does. Okay. When LeBron James came into the league, as you pointed out, Manchild, let me not, I don't want to misquote it. Manchild, what did you call LeBron James?
I don't remember. I have no recollection, sir. I have no recollection, Your Honor. No recollection whatsoever. I am misremembering that, sir. I'm sorry. I misremembered that. He basically called
the most overrated this or that, and he's not going to be anything in the NBA. And you would think a guy who, let's throw this up. LeBron James passes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You think he'd put a little bit more freaking respect on that. But no.
You know what it really was, Sean?
I will confess that in 2004, I voted for Carmelo Anthony as Rookie of the Year over LeBron James. Wow. So I've been there as well.
You'll gain some brownie points around here, Sean, for that here in Syracuse.
Well, that's right. Right. I have to consider my audience.
Know your market.
Sure.
It is my worst hot take in the history of anything I've ever done in media, sports media. And I did say when LeBron was entering the league that I wasn't sure that he was going to make it in the league. And the reason I thought that, though, I want to be clear about the reason, at least there was a real reason, was that I thought he would get, at his age, that he'd get the wrong people around him, and that would tear him down. And much to what you just said, Sean, in all honesty, he has actually been a straight arrow. He actually, for all that people don't like about him, and the guy has walked the straight and narrow. He's
lifted people up. The I Promise School in Cleveland.
He's been a good guy.
Akron,
So whether you like him or not, he's been a good guy, and he had a lot more character than I thought he would have. So if I attacked anything about LeBron James when he was coming into the league, I attacked his character, and I was dead wrong. And I'll say it today, and I'll say it forever. It was the worst take I've ever had, because that guy has shown nothing but character. So good for him. And
you're right. Possibly think of that.
And I say that, and I precluded that question exactly that way, because there are so many people out there that do feel that way. It's like, all right, we'll talk about LeBron again today, but he deserves it. He absolutely deserves it. So sorry. I'm sorry.
And, he winds up getting caught up in the whole Michael Jordan thing, and so it winds up being, you can't not just like Michael Jordan and respect LeBron. You have to hate LeBron James if you like Michael Jordan. Yes. I never understood the logic of all that, but that certainly is part of it.
And I am a Jordanist, sure. If you ask me who the greatest player is, despite
MJ or LeBron or what?
But, we're all subject to our own biases. And also, I was a season ticket holder back then. I watched Michael Jordan in person a lot. And I was just like, this guy's a freak. I hate him. He was so good. So I think that certainly has, it's part of my moxie of why I like one guy over the other. They're both amazing.
But which one do you pick, Sean? Are you an MJ or LeBron guy?
I'd be a Michael Jordan guy as well. I mean, as much as I like I said, I respect everything about LeBron and I understand what he's done for the league. I've never watched anybody like Michael Jordan. I just never did. And talking to people, I covered him a little bit when he came back with the Wizards. I wasn't. I was still in college when he was, really at his peak in Chicago. But I never really watched a guy like Michael Jordan who you just felt like he could always just win the game if he really wanted to, and I don't get that sense with LeBron. LeBron can certainly beat you in a number of different ways, but Michael Jordan was just different. And you just, some of it's mythologized, of course, but certainly, the proof is in the pudding, and you can just see when that guy really wanted to win, he's going to find a way to win.
Yeah. Yep. I guess kind of had like that Tiger Woods killer instinct. It was just something about him. So, all right, Sean Deveney, as always, my friend, always great to chat with you. We'll have plenty more to talk about next week, but thanks for joining us. We'll see you then.
Okay. Thanks, guys.